If you are looking for a place to live in Korea for the first time, the housing system can be pretty confusing. You see apartment, officetels, villas, and then you start hearing words like Jeonse and Wolse. You might even find a rental listing asking for a deposit of $100,000 or more. And naturally, your first reaction might be, why would I put down that much money just to rent a home? So before looking at actual listings, let's first understand how housing in Korea actually works. Let's start with the types of housing you will see most often. First, apartment. When Koreans say apartment, they're usually talking about large residential complex with multiple buildings. Many of them have parking, security, playgrounds, and other shared facilities. Then there are officetels. They're usually small units, often located near subway stations or business districts. For someone living alone, an officetel can be a convenient option. And then there's a word that confuses a lot of foreigners, villa. If you're American, villa probably makes you imagine a large, luxurious house. That's not what it usually means in Korea. A Korean villa generally refers to a smaller, low-rise multi-family residential building. So if someone tells you, I live in a villa, don't picture a mansion with a swimming pool. Now let's talk about the part that's really different. In Korea, there are two rental terms you will hear all the time, Jeonse and Wolse. Wolse is relatively easy to understand. You put down a deposit and pay monthly rent. The deposit can still be much larger than what many foreigners are used to, but the basic idea is familiar. Jeonse is different. With Jeonse, instead of paying regular monthly rent, the tenant provides the landlord with a much larger lump sum deposit. We are not talking about 1 or 2 months of rent. Depending on the property, the deposit can be hundreds of millions of Korean won. You live in the property for the agreed lease period, and at the end of the lease, the deposit is supposed to be returned to you. At this point, you might be thinking, why would anyone give a landlord that much money? That's a perfectly reasonable question. Historically, Jeonse allowed tenants to live without paying regular monthly rent, while landlord could make use of a large deposit during the lease period. For many Koreans, it became a normal part of the housing market, but that doesn't mean you should treat the deposit casually. Especially if you're new to Korea, don't look at a property and think only about the monthly payment. You need to understand how much money you're putting down, what the contract says, and how the deposit is protected. With a large deposit, those details matter. But understanding the rental system is only half of the story. In Seoul, where you live can completely change how you experience the city, and one of the biggest factors is the subway. A home that's 5 minutes from a subway station can feel very different from the one that's 20 minutes away. That's why you hear Koreans use the word 역세권. It basically describes an area with convenient access to a subway station. And in Seoul real estate, that can be a very important part of how people evaluate the location. I will talk more about 역세권 and why subway access matters so much later in this channel. Korea's housing system isn't necessarily better or worse. It's simply built around a different set of rules. And once you understand those rules, looking for a home becomes much easier. If you're planning to live in Korea, I've also put together some practical housing notes on my website. You will find a link in the description. Thanks for watching.